Welcome to another episode of Positive Solutions for Life. My name is Peggy Meyer. Today's guest is Marnie Dachis Marmet. Marnie is an entrepreneur, certified health coach, podcaster, and author. Her passion in health and wellness led her to many certifications, including integrative health practitioner, holistic health coach, yoga calm teacher, and trainings on gut health, mindfulness, and meditation. As a health coach, Marnie helps busy women and teens implement personalized, gradual, and sustainable nutrition and lifestyle changes to create a happier and healthier life. Her memoir, My Song Unleashed, is a journey of personal transformation that inspires all who read it to pay attention to and trust their inner voice, as it will lead you to know what makes your heart sing. Welcome to the podcast, Marnie.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yes, I'm excited you are here and so excited for our conversation. And with that, can you please start by sharing just a little bit more about your personal life and your journey and how it has led to where you are today?
Well, a lot of that is in my book, My Song Unleashed, which is a memoir, but it's been a journey. I'll say that. People look at me today and they're like, "Oh, she's so healthy and happy and whatever," but I
Mhm.
have been on this journey for a number of years and I'm still on the journey. And I just want to say that right away
Mhm.
because it takes a lot of self-work
Mhm.
to get to different places. Anyway, I would say as a kid, I felt like I had a lot inside of me that I wanted to say, but I was told to be quiet or that I talk too much, or even my book opens up with a story where I'm auditioning for a choir in middle school. And I had a terrible singing voice, and it was like this high level choir. And all I wanted was to be in this choir. And the teacher, after the audition, said that he thought something was wrong with my voice and that my mom needed to take me to the doctor. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that, right? Like for a middle school kid.
Right.
So, of course, we went to the doctor. There was nothing wrong with me. I had a raspy sounding voice. I still have like a little bit of a rasp, but as a kid, it was raspier. My dad actually used to call me the rasp.
Mhm.
So, anyway, that had a big impact on me actually. And you hear these stories about a teacher saying you're bad at math or whatever it is, and
Right.
it's like a story you start to tell yourself. So
Mhm.
I think I started to tell myself the story that people didn't want to hear what I had to say. And then as I grew up and I went to college, I kind of just did what was expected of me or what I thought was expected of
Mhm.
me. Even as a woman, I'm 51 years old. I kind of thought, okay, you go to college, you get married, you have babies, maybe you have career aspirations, but you put them on hold so you can raise your family. Like these were the
Mhm.
ideas that I had in my mind of how I needed to live my life, looking at my mom and my aunts and my grandmother. And it's kind of how I thought I was expected to live my life. So I feel like I spent a large portion of my life not really living the life I wanted to live
Mhm.
and tuning into myself, even though I had this like inner voice, this gut vibe. I used to get lots of stomach aches when I was younger, and I
Mhm.
never knew why. But I
Mhm.
think it was my gut talking to me and telling me, like, you're not living the life you're supposed to be living. But my journey is pretty long and detailed, so I
Yeah.
don't know how much information you want.
Well, yeah, you have a book. It's in there, right?
Yeah,
People can
yes.
get it and want to learn more. But I mean, that is, I think, a couple, points that you had just talked about is, life and health is a journey. And like sometimes we feel like it's a destination. Like, a lot of times, we want to get healthy for an event or we want to get healthy for this. And we reach that goal or that event happens. And then it's like, we forget
Now
what we
what?
did. Now what? Like,
Yeah.
but it is a lifestyle. It's more like a lifestyle. Like, what is it in the end that you want? Like, not just 3 months from now when I have another daughter that's getting married, it's
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. But like 10 years from now or 20 years from now, we're the same age and it's like, where is life going? So you work with women like on their journey. Like, what
Mhm.
are like a couple things that are like the main things people like main issues or main things that people come to you that they're struggling with that you help them with.
Well, so as you can imagine, most women will approach me with wanting to lose weight.
Hmm.
but it is never about the weight,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's in their mind, that is the tangible thing that they want to do. They
Mhm.
want to, change their physical appearance. But really, when you work with me, it's for a number of months and we're diving into what's behind that, right? Like it's never about the weight. There's usually so much more to unpack.
Mhm.
And I like to ask my clients questions where they can really do some inner work and some thinking and figure out what is going on. A
Mhm.
lot of women don't even feel like they have someone that listens to them. So a lot of times we're chatting and I'm just listening and then asking questions. And then sometimes things become clearer in your own mind when someone's kind of, reframing something for you or asking you a question, well, can you tell me about this more? But that's the weight loss is usually it ends up being a byproduct of, some of these things that we dive into. And
Mhm.
I like to educate people on how they can make some changes in their own lives. But at the end of the day, I'm a coach.
Yeah.
So I'm guiding, coaching, but the client is the one that needs to do the work. They have to want to make a change. They
Mhm.
have to want to dive in and do the work. So it's, this partnership, but I don't like to take any credit because at the end of the day, they're the ones that have to perform.
Right.
And I would say another just thinking about some other clients that I've had very recently, I've had a lot of working women come to me that have like higher power jobs and their kids are finally kind of grown or they're just starting to leave the nest and they're like, "Oh, now I have some time and I can start to focus on myself."
Mhm.
So, helping those women kind of change some habits,
Mhm.
make time and space in their busy lives and calendars for their own self-care,
Mhm.
health, well-being. And then I also talk to a lot of women just about mindset. Like we do a lot of mindset work
Mhm.
because a lot of people have negative self-talk and I like to help people or guide people in how to kind of retrain your brain on how to think in a different way.
Mhm.
If that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes back to, what you started with, about we have these stories, we tell ourselves and we give
Mhm.
them meanings. And, and just like you said about, a lot of people come and a lot of women want to lose weight, but it's not about the weight. It's the story behind the weight and all
Right.
of the life experiences behind the weight that needs to be unpacked. But you also said that women like have this tendency to think that nobody listens to them. And I'm a former mental health therapist, so I understand that part because a lot of people just like, I don't know what it is, but I can just talk to you and it's just having that person that will just listen, without judgment on that. But is there a connection between like feeling not listened to and then not listening to ourselves?
I think so. I think so.
I just
I
I
I
just I
really
just put those together when you were talking and I'm just like, I wonder how you view that, you know?
yeah, I think that, when you feel not listened to, oftentimes you feel small, right?
Mhm.
And then maybe if your body's trying to tell you something, I mean, I talk to a lot of people that don't even understand how to tune into their bodies.
Mhm.
So it may not be intentional, right?
Right, right.
Like, your body can manifest in, like I mentioned earlier,
Yep,
stomach aches,
yep.
rashes. Like there's so many things
Mhm.
throwing up, headaches.
Yep.
Like there are so many things that can manifest in the body due to stress and
Mhm.
due to, emotional things going on in our lives that I don't think a lot of people make that connection.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm feeling so much stress in my life or so much unhappiness or whatever it is. And that's why my body is acting out.
Right, right, right. I feel like that is it's like our body just sends us messages, whether it's that stomach ache, that nervousness, the tightness, the headaches, whatever,
Mhm.
and we're not listening to it. And
Yeah,
but you said it, we might not even be aware that those are messages from our body from stress.
exactly.
And so
And there's actually a book, you've probably read it, The Body Keeps the Score. I
mhm,
can't
mhm.
think of the
Yeah, I can't think
author's
of that.
name
Yeah,
off the
yeah.
top of my
Yeah, I
head,
know, I
but
mean, I'm
the
not good
the
at that.
entire book is about that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you're, tuning in and just like, oh my gosh, I gotta this it resonates, there's resources out there to learn a little bit more, people, books, all that. But I guess where do you want to go? Like, I just drew a blank on what thing I was gonna talk about next, but um what are some tools or exercises that you help women go through? You ask them a lot of questions
Mhm.
to kind of tune in. Are there specific questions, like, or just some general questions that maybe the listeners can kind of like, oh, like maybe I should dive in a little bit deeper on just a couple of these questions? Like, I always ask my kids, like,
Yeah.
ask me a question, and I'm like, okay, what's underneath the question? Like,
Yeah. Right.
so,
Right.
what are some of those underneath questions?
So, well, first of all, I just want to say when I do work with clients, it's very personalized.
Hmm.
So it's not a one size fits all. They
Yeah.
fill out a very in-depth questionnaire
Hmm.
before we even meet. So I have an idea of what they're wanting to get from from us working together.
Hmm.
But that being said, one thing that I do like to do with everybody is goal setting.
Hmm.
And I think that goal setting is so important. And it's not goal setting in like, I want to make $1 million by the time I'm 50 or whatever it is,
Right.
but it's more like asking yourself larger questions so that you can lead the life that you want to live. And if you can't identify what matters to you most in different areas of your life, how are you going to live that life? So
Hmm.
I really want my clients to have a clearer picture of what they want. And sometimes they don't know. They truly do not know, and that's okay. And then we're trying to get to that point. And when I'm talking about, different buckets or different areas, I'm
Hmm.
talking about relationships and work and health and personal growth and could be movement goals, all different
Yeah.
buckets, and we kind of come up with some of them are the same for everybody, right?
Mhm.
Like the
Right.
work and the relationships, but
Mhm.
there's some differences. And so once we do that, then I really want them to like clarify their goals and their values. And once they have that written down and they're looking at it and they see it, then we say, okay, every decision you make is hopefully bringing you closer to that goal. And
Mhm.
you can ask yourself, and a lot of women I work with also have trouble saying no, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So
Yep.
you can ask yourself, someone's asking you to do something, you really don't want to do it. Obviously, we all have things we do that we don't always want to do. But assuming it's a choice in some
Mhm.
capacity, you want to say to yourself, is this going to bring me closer to my vision for the life I want to live? Or is this going to bring me further back?
Mhm.
And hopefully you're starting to get a clearer picture of this life that you want to live. And you're starting to make decisions and guide, your path
Mhm.
accordingly. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Because really it's like life is about choices. Yeah,
Mhm.
but if we don't know where we're going, it's really hard to get there. It's got to be
Right.
clear. And then if you don't know where you're going, you don't know what choice would help you get there. And so like a navigation system, if you don't know where you're going, you can't drive somewhere that you don't know where it is without having a clear path. And thank goodness for GPS. So some of this is just asking ourselves questions to get that GPS located and on that right path, correct?
Yes. Yep. And it's really your internal GPS, right?
Yes, yeah.
And you want your mind and your body to be in balance
Mhm.
so that you're feeling good all around about the choices that you're making. And, this is a big process that takes a lot of small baby steps. And, just because you have these goals doesn't mean you're going to be there in 6 months. Like it could take a few years. It could take many, many years to get to that place. And then, as you're getting closer, I like to reevaluate this.
Mhm.
I like to tell people to reevaluate every 6 months
Mhm.
because things do change in our lives and it's important to change your vision if your vision changes.
Right, right. Well, I mean, that is true because what we know now might be different than, we try something, we got to go do something, right? We
Yep.
go make those choices, go towards the direction that we're wanting to go, and we might learn something new. And it might
Mhm.
change our vision. It might and change it in a way that it might get clearer. And so
Totally.
that just, solidifies some other questions we have to ask ourselves, or it changes our response say I would have responded a certain way 3 months ago, but now that I've got this far down the path, now I realize that maybe this type of food I'm eating or this kind of exercise stresses me out more, does more harm than good. So maybe I'll, tweak that a little bit and
Absolutely.
make a different choice.
And it can be really scary. Like, I
Mhm,
didn't mention that, but this is a scary process for a lot of
mhm,
people,
mhm.
and I think it's super important to step into your fears.
Yeah.
The more that you do something that scares you and step into your fears, the more confidence you gain inside, and the next time something scary comes your way, it seems a little less scary. And
Mhm.
I always like to say, "What is the worst that can happen?" Like, what is the absolute worst thing that can happen? And when you think about that, if it's not really an absolute worst thing, then go for it,
Right.
you know? Just go for it.
So
Get
what
uncomfortable.
Yeah, really. And so, like, what is scary about it to people?
I think that a lot of people feel like they don't deserve to live the life they want to live. I'm not sure why or where that's coming from, but even making, let's say you're unhappy in your job, but
Mhm.
you've been in your job for 30 years or 20 years or however long, 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year. You're new, you graduated college, you've been in your job for a year, you hate your job, you're miserable in your job,
Mhm.
but maybe it pays well. Maybe everybody's giving you, oh my gosh, you have this great job. I'm so proud of you. But inside, the job is not right for you.
Mhm.
So it's scary to people to make a change. And a
Yeah.
lot of people think, well, what are they going to think of me? I'm
Mhm.
leaving this great job to go pursue film or, something that's like outside of maybe what's expected of you.
Mhm.
And I think making those changes can be really scary
Yeah.
to people.
And I think about, too, circling back to the stories we tell ourselves, like,
Mhm.
is, those the stories we get from other people too, like you mentioned, is like, oh yeah, you're doing so good at this, you're just right for this, but like inside you're going, no, it's not, I don't feel it, I don't see it, it's not me. And to go against the grain or to be uncomfortable is scary, I think that's, part of it, those fears.
Yeah, and I'll just a totally different example that I'm just thinking about. I have a client, or I don't work with her anymore, but I worked with her for a long time. She was afraid to go to the gym. She really, really wanted to go to the gym, but she was scared. She didn't have a friend to go with, and she felt like people were going to be looking at her. She was newer at working out. And just talking through that and giving her the confidence to
Mhm.
to get herself to the gym, which she did, and then when she started going, she was feeling awesome and she ended up loving it. But
Mhm.
like she was really um I don't want to say held back. I don't She was just really scared to take those first
Mhm.
steps and go to the gym even though she knew she wanted to.
Yeah, we have that hesitancy.
Mhm.
We kind of know what we want, but it's that unknown. I feel like a
Yes.
lot of it is that unknown, like how are other people going to respond? How am I going to like it? Like all of these things that these worries, thoughts, and stuff, and we can get really trapped in that. And so that's part of that mindset piece. I'm sure that you work with clients with, and everybody needs a little bit of help with that because what's in between the ears can really mess with us some days.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yep. And then, developing those coping strategies or things to do when, your mind is messing with you. How
Mhm.
do you manage that? How do you keep a strong mindset? What are the tools that you use to keep your mind healthy?
Yeah, yeah. All of that. I want to ask you a little bit more about how do people find their and trust their inner voice? You talk about, your song, finding your voice and you're helping others, kind of uncover their deepest desires and live a life that they truly want to live. How do people tune into that?
I mean, I think it takes time.
Yeah.
One exercise that I like to tell people to do, and I think it's really, really useful, is to have two journals. A junk journal, I like to call it, or a brain dump journal, and then a journal that maybe you're putting some more thoughtful things into.
Hmm.
And the brain dump journal, is just what it sounds like. You're just
Mhm,
writing down anything that comes to your mind. You could do this before you go to bed.
mhm,
You could do this for 5 minutes in the morning,
mhm.
and you're just like literally it doesn't need to be grammatically correct. Like it could be
Yeah.
just like a one sentence for an entire page. It's just like your stream of consciousness.
Mhm,
Um, Interestingly enough, things come out of these writings that
mhm,
you don't expect. The other journal I like to tell people to use for different things that are a little more concrete. Like maybe it's making a list of what you're grateful for. Maybe it's making a list of, 10 things you want to do in the next 5 years or, or in the next year, whatever it is. Like just a more it's not necessarily, September 17th. I think today's September 17th. September 17th, 2024, I went to the grocery store, I went to work. And it could be, but it's
mhm,
very open-ended. It just hopefully it has more to it than just like your day-to-day. It's,
mhm,
thoughts going on in your mind and maybe some desires. And I
mhm,
do think that writing brings out a lot. And you don't need to consider yourself a writer to
mhm,
write. Like anybody who writes anything down or types is a writer.
mhm.
I
Yeah.
do like to handwrite. I think I'm a really big believer in the power of manifestation as well.
Mhm,
And, maybe you're feeling, I don't know, like we talked about not listened to. So
mhm,
maybe you write down in your journal a few times, people want to hear what I have to say, or people like to hear what I have to say. So just retraining your mind
mhm.
through writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a powerful connection, that mind, your mind body, because you're actually, using your body to express some of your thoughts. And I think there's a lot of research around the power of handwriting things down. But I think I really like that idea of just having like two separate journals, because I can sometimes I kind of get conflictual. Like, my one is that dump journal, it's like, oh, what I did today, blah, 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 just kind of recapping the day or what I need to get done or anything like that. But then I have that other part of me that wants to go a little bit deeper in some of those
Hmm.
questions about, why is this going on? And I don't feel like it fits in that other
Yeah.
part journal, of the daily
Yes.
dump. And so it's like, oh, I want to savor this one because this one doesn't, you have journals that are like a daily journal, and it's just like, well, you don't always have deep thoughts or things that you want to like go deeper on every day. And there's that difference, and to treat them a little bit differently is okay, and that's a
Yes.
great exercise. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where can listeners find out a little bit more about you, your coaching program, your book? You have a podcast as well, so let
Yep.
people know about those things.
Well, so my name, Marnie Dachis Marmet, if you Google me, a lot of different things will come up. But my book, which is again right here, My Song Unleashed, is libraries, independent bookstores, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. There's an audio version that I recorded myself. There is a Kindle version. So it's pretty much out in the world anywhere.
Great.
And I'm on Instagram at Zenful Life Coaching, all one word, ZenfulLifeCoaching. My website is also Zenful Life Coaching. I'm on LinkedIn. And my podcast is called The Art of Living Well Podcast. Would love to have you check it out. Go listen to it. We have I have a co-host that I work with on the podcast, and we just have amazing guests. Sometimes it's the two of us talking, and yeah, check it out.
Great, great. I'll put some of those links in the show notes for people can easily click on those and find you. So, and this has been a great conversation today. So, as we wrap up, is there one thought or quote that you would like to leave the listeners with?
um, I don't know that I have a quote necessarily to
Okay.
leave the listeners with, but I would say that first of all, remember that your life is a journey and it's not a destination. And you probably hear that over and over again, but it's truly is a journey. And I really want people to enjoy their journey and their process and savor it. And even if you're in it and it's hard right now, like it won't always be hard. And
Mhm.
you'll look back on that hard and be like, oh, I learned X, Y, and Z from that. And so just try and be in the moment as much as possible. And don't be afraid to do something that scares you. Try and regularly put something on your calendar that scares you and then see how you feel when you're done.
Oh, that's a good challenge. That is a good challenge. I bet we could journal about 10 different things that scares us right now, and then we can go check those off and put those in our calendar as goals. So
Right.
thank you so
Yes.
much. I've enjoyed our conversation today, Marnie.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day.
You too.